Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show as we have a lot to get into in the world of Southern California sports, such as the Rams and the Chrargers. They are in training camp, but they are kind of dealing with injuries as the Rams and Chrargers have key players that are battling injuries, which is not good. Hopefully, hence the word hopefully, they can get better by the time week 1 rolls around. And it's not too alarming just because it's not overly decimating, just because it hasn't been ruled that they will be missing several weeks. But for the other sports, the Angels continue to stumble as they have now lost the past 2 series, and they lost in the most Angels way to the Seattle Mariners of all teams. But the Dodgers are looking good despite not making any trades at the trade deadline outside of Lance Lynn. And the Padres are kind of surging at the right time as they've won 5 of their last 6 as they face the Dodgers this weekend, which is good stuff. And the Sparks are the Sparks as they just continue to disappoint. I'm just hoping for the best for them. But how about Angel City? They continue, hence the word continue, to win despite having an interim coach following the firing of Friakun. Can they be the team of destiny this season? You'll have to find that out. And how about the NBA Finals? An All-SoCal final when it came to that. You'll have to find that out as well, and more, on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Friday morning, Friday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you have made your way into episode 143 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let's do this thing. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on Spreaker. Please do follow IE Sports Radio at IE Sports Radio on Instagram, TikTok, and what is formerly known as Twitter, and now X. Also do follow them on Facebook for those that still use Facebook. All you just gotta do is type in the word IE, then sports, then radio. In the search bar, just find the IE Sports Radio icon or logo. Just like us, and then boom, that's how you're able to follow us on Facebook. We also have a website, www.iesportsradio.com. Once you go there, please do check out our daily updated website for all of our sports news, our IE Sports Radio blog, our Hall of Fame, our Fans of the Month, our pages dedicated to each podcast, our IE Sports Radio community forum, and while you're there, please do stop by the shop and check out all of our merchandise. For the last 9 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've been continuing to be by the fans and for the fans, and with your help, we are ready to take the next biggest step. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. We would also like to give a huge thank you to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, low in sugar, and high in protein. This is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on. All you have to do is basically go to www.planetjerky.net and basically place your order, and you'll get some delicious Planet Jerky premium brisket beef jerky. And they have several different varieties of flavors. They don't just have just plain jerky. They've got spicy barbecue, and they've got jalapeno barbecue, and I think they even have Carolina Ghost Reaper barbecue as well. Once again, huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky, premium brisket beef jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. And with all that said and done, let us begin. So, a couple things. Apologies for not being on last week. I had the NVA that I was doing, as obviously that's kind of my part-time job. But now that the NVA is officially donezo, I will no longer have to put up with that. Well, not that that was a bad thing, but I will no longer have to skip Fridays, unless, of course, I basically have to contend with, like, Friday Night Football, which is basically high school football, but that's not going to be until, like, 7. And the only thing that's going to be taking away SoCal is if I have to move SoCal Supreme Sports Show around. But the only way that's going to be happening is if I have to work in my part-time job at the grocery store. So there's that. Another thing is, I do apologize if I am starting a little bit late. As of right now, it is 12:42 p.m., if not 12:41 p.m. Pacific time as of this recording. Normally I start at about like 12 p.m., noonish. But unfortunately, I kind of ran into some other things along the way. So sadly, I was unable to start on time. But here I am now, and I'm glad to be back doing the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let's get on into that SoCal Supreme Sports Show goodness. So let's start off with some Chargers and Rams talk. So I haven't really been able to go to, I'm not really one to go to any of these training camps, but I have been hearing good things. So let's start with the Chargers. All right, so for the Chargers, I've obviously been hearing great things. One thing that did stick out was that J.C. Jackson is not on the PUP list. So if you all remember, J.C. Jackson did have that gruesome ACL tear against the Seattle Seahawks, and he was pretty much out the entire season, and that was just not fun. The Chargers threw a lot of money to basically get J.C. Jackson, and for him to basically not have the production that he had and to basically tear his ACL, it was not good times for him. So the fact that he is back on the field and the fact that he basically is, I wouldn't say fully recovered, but the fact that he basically is not on the PUP list, it's so huge. Now, I think, what's-his-face, Jalen Guyton is still on the PUP list, as well as a few others as well. But the fact that J.C. Jackson is not on the PUP list, and he is working 7-on-7, and I think 11-on-11, if not all of the practice, he's just doing full contact drills, is absolutely amazing. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is, unfortunately, today, according to Jeff Miller of the Los Angeles Times, today, and this is so inconvenient, he actually did head to the medical tent with a trainer as he was limping after taking a rep. So at first it looked like he was heading to the medical bike, but then he was heading to the medical tent. So I'm really hoping for the best that this is nothing more than just a tweak or he was just cramping, just because the dude just worked so hard to get back from an ACL tear, but now he could be heading back to square one. And I basically tweeted this out from my personal account, my own Teran Rodriguez 1 Twitter account. And Jeff Miller's basically tweeted out a couple things. He said he actually stopped short of the tent to jump on an exercise bike, and then he said J.C. Jackson did go to the medical tent after spending a few short minutes on the stationary bike. So that doesn't really tell us much. I just hope that he just tweaked something and it's not anything big. I'm just hoping it's not anything big like Jalen Ramsey's injury of the Miami Dolphins, because the Chargers can't afford to lose him. Like I said, the dude just worked so hard to get back from his injury, and for him to have another major injury would be so devastating. And again, the Chargers threw so much money at him last free agency, and then to have another big-time injury would be a huge slap in the face. So I'm just hoping this isn't anything serious on his part, and I'm just hoping the Chargers don't have to deal with this stuff again. But all in all, for J.C. Jackson, doesn't sound like it's ultimately serious, But for J.C. Jackson, I do hope he is able to be healthy by week 1. And I do hope we get that explosive J.C. Jackson that we saw back in New England. Just because I would like nothing more than to have a healthy, dominant cornerback 1. And if he's not healthy by week 1, then the Chargers obviously have Michael Davis and Asante Samuel Jr. Now, this has been a huge concern for the Chargers, their cornerback situation. This is probably the biggest storyline for the Chargers going into this season. Who's going to be their reliable cornerbacks? Asante Samuel Jr. has been making huge strides. Michael Davis is vastly underrated, and he's flown under the radar. They've also got Jasir Taylor, who's in his second year, who I think can really make strides, but I think they can only start 2, if not 3. So I think the 2 best would probably be Asante Samuel Jr. and obviously J.C. Jackson, if healthy. But Michael Davis has experience, obviously. So you obviously can go with J.C. Jackson and Michael Davis, but only time will tell, and I think only 2 will be able to get that cornerback position. So we'll have to wait and see. But all in all, I think the Chargers, in my opinion, they have good cornerbacks. It's just depending on who's going to be the reliable one. And this is something I really don't want the Chargers to have to go down the route of, but I wonder if they could focus on cornerbacks in the next NFL draft. It's either they're going to go O-line or cornerback in terms of the draft. I hope that is not the case. I mean, they've kind of focused on O-line quite a bit. Not last year, but the previous 2 years, they focused on O-line with Zion Johnson and Rashawn Slater. Obviously, you got to protect your quarterback, which is huge. And they also got Jamari Salyer, who did pretty good, if you ask me. And they also got a offensive lineman from Clemson as well. So I think for the Chargers, they really got to protect their QB as well. But at the same time, they got to get their positions down pat. Because they've got good corners. It's just finding that reliable cornerback. And finding the reliable and healthy cornerback who can really deny the opposing offense. So it's just a wait-and-see battle. And this is why training camp is here. And this is why preseason games are a thing. But time will tell. So it's just a wait-and-see process of what will happen with J.C. Jackson and his little minor injury. I don't think it's going to be too serious. Otherwise, they would have had to bring out the medical card. Otherwise, it just said that he just went back with a trainer to the medical tent, and then he went to the stationary bike. The fact that he went to the stationary bike, then to the medical tent, is kind of promising. So I think it's not anything too alarming. So I'm just hoping for the best for said J.C. Jackson. Now let's jump on over to the Rams, just because the Chargers, they practice in Costa Mesa. I guess I'll close out the whole thing, the whole Chargers thing, with how they're doing otherwise. Justin Herbert has just been throwing darts. He led a game-winning drive on Wednesday, so I've heard, according to Tyler Schoon and the Guilty as Charged podcast. And then Easton Stick let a go-ahead drive today, which led to a go-ahead field goal from Cameron Dicker, the kicker, which kind of leads me to wonder, is there not going to be any Dustin Hopkins, and are they just going to roll with Cameron Dicker, the kicker? I really want to say that they're going to roll with Cameron Dicker, which he was not bad. He only missed one field goal, and that was that one field goal in the Jacksonville wildcard game, which I still can't believe that field goal was missed. Field goal looked like it was going to be dead center, and then it just veered to the left. If you see that missed field goal, you will know what I'm talking about. I just could not believe it. It's like a random gust of wind, just whoop. You have to see it to believe it. It's just straight up Mythbusters right there. Anyway, Justin Herbert was featured on the Pat McAfee show, and he might be featured on the whole, the documentary of quarterbacks, which I guess would be cool. And I guess I'd really want to know what happened after that 27-point lead debacle. I mean, personally, on his behalf. I mean, obviously, it's not fun when you lose a 27-point lead on the road. But it was his first playoff game, and playing on the road in that moment is just not fun, and losing that lead just sucks. But he's going to learn from it. It's not all his fault. The defense let him down. The play calling was so vanilla. The defense was obviously playing soft zone coverage. And basically, the run game was just non-existent. So, it's not all on Justin Herbert. And I wish people would just understand that. I really want to tell people that, but I'm afraid I'm going to get lashed out. And people are going to be in my mentions just chewing me out just because I'm defending my QB. I'm just saying, y'all. Anyway, so yeah, it seems like mostly everyone else is healthy for the Chargers. As Keenan Allen's on the field, Mike Williams is on the field. Doesn't look like there hasn't been too many injuries. There has been someone that has been standing out above the rest, Dante Hightower, who I think has been quite the surprise. And the funny thing is that the Chargers have so many wide receivers they can go with. Obviously, they have Keenan Allen, they have Mike Williams, Quentin Johnson is looking good, Josh Palmer returns in the fold. Like, the Chargers are going to be stacked at the receiver position. The question is, who is going to be making the 53-man roster, who's going to be making the practice squad, and who's going to be cut? That is the whole $1 million question thing. I would like to see a majority of these guys make the roster, and I would like to see some of these guys be preserved to the practice squad just to make sure nothing bad happens. I just would not like to see someone get cut and then go to the Raiders and then eventually nip us in the butt whenever we play the Raiders. Or should I say, yeah, Raiders! I'm sorry, I have to do it like that. Anyway, yeah, and that's pretty much to close it out like that. It looks like the run defense is also improving, and that's got to be something the Chargers have to do. They were dead last in the run defense again, and I'm hoping that that run defense drastically improves. And one more thing to note is that Kellen Moore looks like he is comfortable with the Chargers offense, and it looks like the Chargers offense is going to be more fluid and more fiery than ever, and I'm praying to God that that is the case. I don't think the offense is the biggest problem. I just think offense scoring at will is the biggest problem. I think the problem is the Chargers get to the red zone and they get themselves into a position where they can score, but they come away with 3 points. And as a good buddy of mine and an IE Sports Radio Hall of Famer, Pete Garofalo, I think that's how his name is pronounced. I don't know how his last name is pronounced, but his name is Pete, and he's a New England Patriots fan. He said it best: you should never settle for field goals. Field goals do not win you games. You got to score touchdowns, and that's basically the main name of the game. You got to win games with touchdowns and not field goals, which I guess is self-explanatory, but honestly, it's the truth because you don't win with field goals; you win with touchdowns. So I'm just saying, y'all. All right, that's pretty much enough for the Chargers and whatnot. Now let's jump on over to the Rams, because I'm pretty sure all y'all are probably bored out of your minds, and y'all are probably wondering when are we going to talk about the real LA team, that is the Rams. All right, so first and foremost, I actually do want to give a shout out to my boy Larry B. I actually want to give Larry B a shout out because first and foremost, he's in the chat room. He says SoCal. And second of all, I do want to give him the Big W award for completing another season of 3 and Out, 8 divisions in 8 days. And do you know how difficult that is? 3 and Out, 8 divisions in 8 days is so difficult because he has to go 2 whole weeks of interviewing at least one fan. Well, yeah, one fan of every team in the NFC and AFC, in every division in the span of 2 weeks and basically get their outlook and then basically go through the draft. And it's pre-recorded, mind you. And then there's always a segment of Stick It To Him. He interviewed me for the Chargers, just because I'm a Chargers fan. And no, I did not do the Rams just because I was in Long Beach for the NBA. It wouldn't have worked out anyway. He did actually interview a actual Rams fan. His @ is @Built for LA. He is a Rams fan. He just followed me, and the dude sounds like a really cool guy. And he said, diehard Rams/Kings fan since 2002 in his bio. That's it. That's in his bio. Why did I say bio? Anyway, and it says, whose house? Rams house. And he's even followed by the Los Angeles Rams and LA Kings. Lucky guy. Anyway, and he sounds like a really cool guy. And I do want to give Larry B the Big W award for, first of all, completing another season of 8 divisions in 8 days. And I also want to give @Built for LA. I wish I knew his actual name, the Big W award for representing the Rams in 8 divisions in 8 days. Just because he really did. I imagine he did a really good job when it came to representing the Rams. I really got to listen to his Stick It To Him segment. If you listen to Stick It To Him, it's really, really amazing. You could be kind to the other teams in your division, or you could basically be mean and nasty. I try to be as kind as possible, but sometimes I try to lay it down on the line and be truthful. So I really got to listen to @Built for LA's Stick It To Him segment. But @Built for LA represented the Rams really well, and honestly, thank you for representing the Rams. I was actually wondering if I was going to have to represent the Rams in terms of 8 divisions in 8 days. But anyway, I just wanted to give that quick shout out to him. He also has a YouTube page. Definitely do go check it out. His name is RH Ramsey. So I definitely check it out. It's just a quick plug just because I'm a generous guy and he represented the Rams on 8 divisions in 8 days. So check him out, please. I highly recommend it. Anyway, okay, so for the Rams, and I'm reading his most recent tweet. He's calling out a Bengals fan. Anyway, okay, so Rams news. Okay, so the Rams about, let's say, I want to say it was like a few days ago, probably got a couple days ago, he actually got the worst news ever. Cooper Kupp, their super duper amazing wide receiver, or Mr. Incredible, suffered a hamstring injury, which makes me sad face. Oh, that's the worst news. Cooper Kupp suffered a hamstring injury, and I tweeted this out on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show Twitter page. I said, I hope it's not too serious, and I hope it's not anything for too long. And Teran Rodriguez, I think that's of the Bleacher Report, tweeted this out earlier. She said, Cooper Kupp walked off the field with athletic training staff during practice. Sean McVay says he does not know the status of Kupp's current status. And then Gary Klein of the LA Times said that Kupp suffered a hamstring injury, team spokesperson said. So basically, I was just so concerned. This is only preseason. Keep in mind, the Rams had such a litany of injuries last year with Kupp getting hurt, Stafford getting hurt, Aaron Donald eventually getting shut down. I think Van Jefferson, he kind of got hurt, but he eventually got shut down. It was just a mountain full of injuries, and it was just so bad. And everyone likes to basically say that the Rams were the worst defending Super Bowl champion ever. Well, to quote Built for LA, they were the most injured reigning Super Bowl champion ever. So you could shut up about that. Thank you very much. And this just came in from Adam Schefter about 14 hours ago. Rams offensive coordinator Mark LaFleur said on the status of Cooper Kupp, who hurt his hamstring a couple days ago. He's day-to-day. He'll be back in the right time and stuff like that. Yeah, he actually did say that. I'm not paraphrasing. So he is just going through the rehab process, but he's day-to-day. He'll be all right. Okay, so that is probably the best news anybody or any Rams fan can hear. So Cooper Kupp is not going to be missing any time. This is not too serious. And that is amazing news if you're a Rams fan. Just because the Rams cannot afford to lose Cooper Kupp. They really need everyone all in. Because the Rams, I think, can really be good this season. It's all about getting all the key pieces out on the field together. Because if they're missing their starting quarterback and their starting wide receiver and all that sort of thing, they are basically sunk. They're not going to be good. They're going to be, at best, a third-place team in that stacked AFC West. And the Seahawks are getting better. I will say that. The Seahawks are improving. And the Niners, I hate to say this, they're going to be the class of the NFC West. And probably the class of the NFC with the Eagles. Now, can the Rams be any good this season? Of course they can. As I said on 3 and Out, 8 divisions in 8 days, I think the NFC is just a two-headed monster with the Eagles and the Niners. I think only maybe the Lions and the Cowboys can probably be NFC hopefuls. And then the Rams, Seahawks, and whoever wins the NFC South are probably dark horses are probably NFC dark horses. And then I think maybe the Bears and Packers are probably long shots in the NFC. This is just my opinion. So to any of those fans who I just said, don't kill me. But I think the Rams can be good this season. I know I just said they can be dark horses, but I do think they have talent. It's just all about them not getting bitten by the injury bug. Because they were one of the least healthiest teams. Them and the Chargers both. Misery loves company, I guess. But for the Rams, they really got to keep everybody healthy, like Joe Notaboom and whatnot. And their O-line was probably the biggest issue. If they can't keep that O-line healthy, then Matt Stafford is going to get turned into chopped onions, if not pico de gallo. I'm just saying, y'all. So, and I will say this as well. The Rams play a fairly tough schedule, and it's going to be pretty tough for the Rams to keep up with the Joneses in that really tough schedule. So, I don't think a wild card spot is out of the question, but I will say this. If they get the 7 seed, they are not going to survive against the Niners. If they get the 6 seed or 5 seed, they will survive against whoever wins the South or the NFC South or the NFC North. That's just my friendly opinion, and that's my best case scenario. That's my biggest best case scenario. The Rams get the wild card spot, number 1 or number 2. The worst case scenario, obviously, is if the Rams miss the playoffs. And the semi-worst case scenario is if the Rams finish as the 7th seed, and then they have to play the Niners in Santa Clara. The only way they could somehow pull off an upset is if, for some reason, Matthew Stafford plays his best game, and he manages to basically go beast mode in that game. And if that is the case, then, oh my golly, then put Matthew Stafford in the Hall of Fame, just because that would be the most legendary game he'd have since, heck, I don't know. I think that one game against the Cleveland Browns when he got hurt, and then he was told to basically come out, but he stayed in, and then they wound up walking it off. Just my opinion. And wouldn't it be something if the Lions faced the Rams and Matt Stafford faced his old team and the Rams wound up denying the Lions their first playoff win in heaven knows how long? That would be quite the storyline. Anyway, I'm just daydreaming at this point. But other than that, it doesn't look like... I haven't been really following the Rams too much in terms of their training camp, outside of the whole Cooper Kupp injury. But it looks like Matt Stafford is doing well, and Aaron Donald is a top 15 player in the whole top 100 player countdown. I'm not really into that whole thing. I don't really get too much into that. Like, if a player is top 100 from LA, cool. But if they're not, then it's fuel for the tank. So, and if a player is like a 99 rating in Madden, cool. But Madden is not real life. That is my ultimate motto. Madden is not real life. And I hope people take that away. Take that saying away and then use that for real life as well. So, honestly, there you go. But for the Rams and for the Chargers, I think preseason for them is right around the corner. I want to say preseason is not too far away from them, as I'm really excited to see. Yeah, preseason is on the 9th and the 15th, which is next week. Man, because last night was the Hall of Fame game between the Browns and the Jets, which has nothing to do with SoCal. But it actually does. But more on that later. But for the Rams and the Chargers, they actually meet next Saturday in preseason play at SoFi. So, yeah, the two will be facing off against one another. And I might actually see that game. I mean, I have Saturday off, so heck, I might grab me some snacks and some nice little carbs, and I might just not carbs. I'm trying to veer away from that. I might just grab me some eats, and I might just chillax and see that Rams Chargers game. But I've never been a preseason type of guy. I mean, it's always nice to see how both teams are developing in terms of the reserves. But honestly, I'm not going to make too big of a deal if a team wins or loses, and no one else should. But the two teams kick off preseason next Saturday against one another at 6 p.m. Pacific time on the NFL Network, which I guess is cool. I mean, I would have preferred CBS, but what can you do? And then preseason week 2, the Rams play Raiders on Saturday, and then the Chargers play the Saints on Sunday at 4:05 p.m., and then the Raiders play Rams at 6 p.m. And then in preseason week 3, the Chargers play the Niners on Friday at 7 p.m., and then the Rams play the Broncos on Saturday at 6 p.m. Pacific time in Denver, while the Chargers head up to Santa Clara to take on the Niners. And I'm hoping, I'm going to be in Long Beach for some women's volleyball, so I'm not even going to care. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to be interested in the final score of that game. The Chargers probably can get blown out in that game, whether it's by Sam Darnold or Trey Lance or any of that stuff. But I will not care if the Chargers get decimated. Anyway, so that is that for basically the NFL portion of the show. I actually do want to give one quick shout out to Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the former UCLA quarterback, as he helped lead the Cleveland Browns to a 21-16 win over the New York Jets in the Hall of Fame game yesterday. Now, I know it's just the Hall of Fame game, and it does not mean squat diddly jack, but it is kind of good, as DTR looked really good. And he could be a good backup for the Browns just in case Deshaun Watson goes down for some whatever reason, or for some weird reason he just does not look good and then DTR has to take the reins. I mean, the dude had 5 or so-ish years of playing QB at UCLA, mainly under Chip Kelly. So all in all, for DTR, he looked really good, and I hope he can translate that into being a good backup, just in case. He even threw up a block for his former teammate Demetric Felton. That was epic, dude. Like, DTR is probably one of a kind. So, congratulations to DTR on impressing in Canton, Ohio, in the Hall of Fame game for the Cleveland Browns. And I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing DTR possibly getting that start in case, for some weird reason, Deshaun Watson screws up. And I'm not trying to hope for Deshaun Watson's demise, but heaven knows. All right, but that is that when it comes to the entire NFL portion of the show. Yeah, NFL season is back, as next week we get full preseason football. I'm so excited. Even though it's just preseason. All right, but let's jump on over to some more football, except on the soccer side of things, as let's jump to some MLS, even though that's still on break, as we've got the 2023 Leagues Cup happening, as the LA Galaxy had their Leagues Cup matches last week. Well, not last week, but a couple weeks ago, as they played Lyon and Vancouver in group stage play. Unfortunately, on July 26th, they played Lyon, and they wound up losing 1-0, as Angel Mena wound up scoring the lone goal for Lyon in the 58th minute. I'm surprised the Galaxy held their own for that long. I'm surprised Lyon didn't even spank the Galaxy that hard. I thought it was going to be a whole lot worse considering they trounced LAFC that bad the previous time, back in the CONCACAF Cup. And then the second match of group stage play, Vancouver, the Whitecaps, you know, the same Whitecaps team that beat the Galaxy previously, like a couple weeks ago in MLS play. They managed to beat the Galaxy 2-1. It was looking promising for the Galaxy as Ricard Puig scored in the 16th minute, and it was 1-0 at halftime. It was looking really good through 80 minutes. Notice how I said the word 80 minutes. However, in the 81st minute, Vancouver scored off of an own goal from the Galaxy, which I imagine was deflected. And then Brian White scored in stoppage time, 1 minute in stoppage time, which basically sealed the Galaxy's doom, which, great job, Galaxy. Way to basically not make it out of pool play or group stage play in the 2023 Leagues Cup. Not that we had a whole lot of expectations for you. We did not expect you to get out of group stage play, especially in being with the CONCACAF champion Lyon. But you tried. That's the thing. You tried at least. We're still proud of you. We're just not proud of you all that much. So, for the Galaxy, they don't have another match until the 20th when they play Real Salt Lake. That's not going to be until Sunday. So, they can enjoy their 16 days off and watch LAFC do their thing. Speaking of LAFC, they actually had a bye in the Leagues Cup as they actually played Juarez on Wednesday. And believe it or not, they straight up walloped Juarez, beating them 7-1 on Wednesday in the round of 32. Whew! Straight up just stomped on them, dude. It was just so bad. I'm surprised this game wasn't called early, as Ryan Hollingshed scored the first goal for LAFC, which got the game going. I'm surprised it didn't get going early. 2 minutes after that, Carlos Vela scored, and suddenly it was 2-0, which was actually the halftime score. Then Juarez got on the board thanks to Amari Escoto, and it was 2-1, so it looked like it was going to be a little bit closer. But then Dennis Bouanga scored to put LAFC up 3-1. Then 9 minutes after that, Carlos Vela netted his second goal to put his team up 4-1. Then Bouanga scored his second goal of the game to put his team up 5-0. Then Bouanga netted his hat trick via a penalty kick in the 78th minute. So suddenly LAFC is up 6-0, and it's really turning out to be a blowout against Juarez. And then in the 90th minute, to basically put the cherry on top, Nathan Ordaz scored a goal to put LAFC up 7-1. I don't even think stoppage time was needed. I just think the referees just said, we don't need stoppage time. The game is over. That goal is basically it. Go home, both of you. LAFC stopped scoring. I just think I just think there was no stoppage time needed. I really hope there was. Oh my God, why did you? There was stoppage time. I just think maybe there was just 1 minute of stoppage time, and then the referees just said, "All right, that's it. 1 minute of stoppage time is it." And that was pretty much it. Surprisingly, Juarez dominated possession. They had 53% of the ball, and they actually had 19 shots, but only 5 of them were on goal, while LAFC had 20 shots, while 10 of them were on goal. So, yeah. LAFC will actually play the winner of Leon and Real Salt Lake, who still has to play their round of 32 match. So, we don't know of the whereabouts of that match in real time, but I imagine we'll get to see LAFC play Leon. I don't think Real Salt Lake is on the level of Leon, and this is no offense to Real Salt Lake. I mean, Real Salt Lake had raccoon problems in their stadium. Wait, Real Salt Lake is actually third in the Western Conference? What the heck? I thought Real Salt Lake was bad. Suddenly Real Salt Lake is third in the West? That's crazy, dude. For a team with raccoon problems, this team is pretty good. So, okay, I take back what I said. We could see Real Salt Lake playing LAFC in the round of 16 in the League's Cup. But honestly, I would like to see a redemption match between LAFC and Leon. But time will tell. I mean, for LAFC, I don't think they care who they get. But honestly, as long as LAFC takes care of business, I think they'll be in good shape. My only concern is it depends on how deep they go into this tournament. If they continue to go deep and deep and deep into this tournament, how far can they really... How long is this tournament going to be? And will they have to postpone matches in terms of their MLS schedule? Will they have to basically postpone matches and reschedule just like they did when they were in the CONCACAF tournament? That's something you got to take into consideration. And will playing that much soccer be too much soccer? I mean, I'm no soccer expert. I will just go on the record and say I'm no soccer expert, but is playing that much soccer too much soccer? Because LAFC wants to defend their MLS Cup. Let's just go on the record and let's just say it like that. Because they really want to defend their MLS crown. Because that's what really matters. I mean, obviously winning the CONCACAF tournament also mattered, and winning this League's Cup also would be a great consolation prize. I think you could hang a banner when it comes to winning this tournament, but winning the MLS Cup also matters. Because when it comes to the MLS, LAFC is the reigning champ. And the other teams in the MLS, the other 29 teams cannot say otherwise. So, it all depends. But for LAFC, it's all a time will tell process. All they really care about is who they're going to be facing next, whether it's Real Salt Lake or Leon. I think their next opponent is going to be in the BMO Stadium. I don't think they're going to have to travel to wherever Leon plays. I think it's Mexico or something. Because if I recall correctly, when LAFC played in the CONCACAF tournament, LAFC played Leon in Mexico. Yeah, it was Leon de los Aldamas, Mexico. If my accent was so bad, I apologize. But yeah, Leon is in Mexico. So I highly doubt that LAFC has to travel to Leon, and I don't think they're going to travel to Real Salt Lake, where there's raccoon problems and whatnot. But don't worry. I don't know if you all saw this viral video of Real Salt Lake, but there was a raccoon running about in the stadium, and I think it was security tried to capture it, and it did. I think it was crawling up a wall, and then someone used a broom and dustpan to try to capture it, and then it fell back onto the ground, and then it ran away. Fortunately, someone did capture it, and eventually they released it back into the wild. which is good, because no one wants to deal with raccoons and their rabies and their biting and whatnot. But golly, dude. No, golly, Real Salt Lake. Deal with your raccoon problem elsewhere. I'm just saying, dude. Alright, but back to LAFC. Yeah, their next match won't be until time and date to be determined, I guess. But their next match will be against Leon or Real Salt Lake, and I'm excited for that. I don't mind either opponent, honestly. I don't think LAFC doesn't mind either opponent as well, as I'm excited to see what their round of 16 matchup will be. I don't think it's going to be an easy matchup as well, as it doesn't even give out a day or time. What? Their tweet? Yeah, I guess their date and time hasn't even been picked out. So, yeah, even the tweet that got sent out doesn't even say. Well, that sucks. Thanks, Leagues Cup. I don't know what time it's going to be at. Dadgummit. Anyway, I guess that's going to do it for the MLS portion of the show. I will say good job to LAFC, who basically got the job done. Just because, this is no surprise though. I mean, LAFC was going to win just because LAFC is just that strong. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for the Galaxy, as they are the redheaded stepchild of Los Angeles in terms of soccer. It sucks, but it is what it is. And Larry B says, I'm so mad at these stupid teams leaving the Pac-12. Yes, I'll be getting to that a little bit later. But to close the book on how the Galaxy are doing, they are the fourth worst team in the MLS, and I only hope that they could go up from here. We'll see, though. I hope the LA Galaxy can take it up from here. Anyway, alright, but that's going to do it for the MLS portion of the show. Jumping on over to the NWSL. Alright, so the NWSL. I don't know how LA Angel City is doing this. Like, they still have yet to lose a match despite having an interim coach. I don't know how they do it. I don't know what happened, but in their most recent group stage match against the Portland Thorns last Friday, they beat the Thorns at BMO Stadium 2-1. Color me impressed, as Savannah McCaskill had both goals. She scored in the 8th minute, while Morgan Weaver of the Thorns scored in the 44th minute, as it was 1-1 at halftime, and then McCaskill scored 2 minutes into the second half, and that was pretty much that, as there was no scoring the remainder of the second half, as Angel City managed to beat the Thorns 2-1, which I was very impressed. I'm quite impressed by Angel City, as Angel City's next opponent in group stage play is Wave FC, or San Diego, tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. at Snapdragon Stadium. So they get to face their rival, which is really cool, if you ask me. Unfortunately for Wave FC, they have not had good sledding, as last Friday they actually lost to OL Reign 1-0. So this has been really tough. And then also on the previous group stage match, Wave FC lost to Portland 4-1. So yeah, San Diego has just not had it easy. And I guess these matches don't count toward the NWSL schedule, which I had a feeling that was the case. But for Wave FC, that's kind of the new focus on them, is their group stage play. And then after the NWSL Cup, the two teams are back at it. Angel City and Wave FC are back at it in MLS play against their respective opponents. Wave FC actually jumped back into play in a big way 2 weeks from tomorrow against Gotham, which, oh man, that's a tough way to jump back into MLS or NWSL play. That's brutal, dude. And Wave FC has not been the same team that they have been earlier. unless they can get a shutout at home, I just don't know if Wave FC can win this one. Now, Angel City, they play Louisville after the NWSL Cup, which, if they continue to play like this under their new interim head coach, then honestly, I think they could actually make the playoffs. Is it weird? Maybe. But honestly, I think they maybe, hence the word maybe, could possibly maybe they could be the team of destiny. Because let's be honest, it's just so far. They have not lost a match since June 10th. We're currently in the month of August. And this is including group stage matches as well. They have not lost a match in over 2 months, which is just unbelievable. And I know I'm skewering stats like ties and wins, but that's still impressive. Even with an interim coach, that's still rather good to not lose a match. So I'm rather impressed by Angel City FC to basically not lose a match once after firing your head coach, after a hideous start to the season. And you've even beaten teams like the Carolina Courage, which is pretty good. You beat Portland, which I know it's in group stage play, but that's still good. And you tied Gotham, another good team. You also beat San Diego. I think that was like 1 or 2 days after you fired your head coach. Like, that's so tough to mentally adjust yourselves after firing your head coach. So the fact that Angel City is doing everything right following the firing of Freya Coombe, I think they're actually doing something right. And I really don't want to say this for the millionth time, but maybe they actually knew something we didn't when it came to Freya Coombe. I don't want to say that maybe Freya Coombe was the problem, but who knows? So, time will tell. Time will tell, but looking at my math, they've gone 6 matches without losing. Can 7th time be the charm tomorrow at Snapdragon Stadium against Wave FC? Possibly. Hence the word possibly. Wave FC has just looked like complete dog water, if you ask me, and that's actually an insult to dog water. Coincidentally, and that's a big coincidentally, they have not won a match since 2 carry the 3 -1. They have not won a match since in 8 matches. Their last win in a match actually came on June 4th against Gotham. Ever since, they lost to Louisville, or they tied against Louisville on June 9th. They lost to Angel City on the 17th of June. They lost to OL Reign on the 24th of June. They lost to Angel City in group play on the 28th. Then jumping over to July, they lost to Chicago on July 1st. They tied against Washington on July 8th. They got stomped on in group stage play against Portland. And then, like I said, last Friday, they lost to OL Reign. So they haven't won a match in over 8 matches. And coincidentally, Angel City has not lost a match in 6 matches. So this is the telltale of 2 teams that have been on different streaks. I don't know what to tell you, except if you had told me that Wave FC was going to be on a winless streak and Angel City was going to be on a loseless streak, I maybe would have looked at you funny. You got to be impressed with how Angel City has been, despite firing Freya Coombe. Again, maybe they just know something that we didn't, though. So, we'll see. But, for the time being, I wish best of luck to both teams, and hopefully, hence the word hopefully, we don't see any gruesome injuries. And Angel City can't afford any more gruesome injuries. Something to note for San Diego is that I don't think they have Alex Morgan, just because she's still partaking in the Women's World Cup. And I think Alyssa Thompson is too. So both of these teams might not be at full strength. But we'll see what happens in this match. It could be interesting to say the least, but time will tell. All right, but that'll do it for the NWSL portion of the show, as it's almost time to basically get back to the real deal, as the playoff race is soon to be heating up, as after that, like I said, after that Saturday, there's only 2 more weeks until both teams have 7 more matches before the final stretch of the NWSL season, and then boom. And that will take a break for the show, as that'll close out the NWSL portion of the show. And when we come back, we'll have some NBA talk, some brief NBA talk. Then we'll have some MLB talk, and then we'll discuss a little about the WNBA, and then we'll have the Dum Dum of the Week. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this.
Well, what is up, Carolina Nation? This is John Felipe of the Carolina Cast, of course, the podcast of, by, and for the Carolinas, right here on IE Sports, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I'm reminding you to tune in Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern for the latest in Carolina sports, whether it's the Panthers that keep on pounding, the fly natures of the Hornets, the storming Hurricanes, the battle of the Blues with Duke and UNC, the fight of the Clemson Tigers, or the amazing atmosphere of any Carolina college. I'm talking App State, I'm talking ECU, I've got you covered. Once again, tune in for the Carolina Cast with me, John Felipe, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right. Welcome to AZ Sports Daily. I'm your host, Kieran Daly, bringing the heat to Arizona sports. There's no discrimination here. We're going to talk about every sports team, professional and college. The show is all about you, the listener. I'm here to entertain you. Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? It's going to be fun, high energy. You may not agree with what I say. That's okay. Let me hear you. Let's talk about it. Join me every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on AZ Sports Daily. That's AZ Sports, Daily, and at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
What up, Boston sports fans? This is Mikey Two Guns here, your host of Our Bleepin' City, airing every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Please join me. We'll talk everything Boston sports, all the local teams, college teams. I'm even down to talk MMA, boxing, whatever you guys want. So join me every Wednesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Chime in with your questions on the chat, tweet the show. We'll even have call-ins. I can't wait to hear from you guys. This is going to be a lot of fun. So once again, it's Our Bleepin' City. I am your host, Mikey Two Guns, every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. See you soon, people.
And we are back with segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for tuning in. Definitely do check out all of our amazing shows, such as the Carolina Cast with John Felipe. That will be going on later today at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Also check out AZ Sports Daily with Kieran Daly, which goes on every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. That talks all things Arizona sports. Carolina Cast also talks all things Carolina sports. Also check out Big Cheese Sports with Bernie Bango every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Central Time, talking all things Wisconsin sports. Also check out Our Bleepin' City with Mikey Two Guns every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern, as Mikey Two Guns is actually in the chat room. He says, here for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, as he actually says the Supreme Show, but actually I had to tell him it's the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, as a guy had that Supreme, just like that Supreme Pizza, as I appreciate you tuning in, Mikey, as he also said that Dum Dum of the Week is the best part. Yes, it is. But we're going to save that for the end of the show, so we have to jump on into segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, as let's discuss some WNBA. Let's rip the Band-Aid off really quick, just because, honestly, the Sparks are basically a walking funeral home at the moment. So, long story short, with the Sparks, it's not been getting easy. Well, I won't say that. And I guess it hasn't been all that bad. Last time we left off, they lost to the Dallas Wings last Saturday. They lost 98-84, ouch, in the DFW area. And that was their first loss to the Dallas Wings this season. Last week, they actually bounced back with 2 wins against the Indiana Fever. They won the first game last Tuesday on the 25th of July, 79-78. They actually won off of a go-ahead jumper from Jordan Canada, who hit a 3 with about 3.2 seconds left, which actually ended an 8-game losing streak. Ouch, oh Rama. I can't believe it took the Indiana Fever to snap an 8-game winning streak, or 8-game losing streak. But regardless, the Sparks won 79-78, which was huge right there. And Nneka Ogwumike had 30 points, which was huge. And the Sparks followed that win up with an 81-68 win over the Fever. Just went to show how bad the Fever were, as they only had 6 wins going into that game, which was big time right there. And Ogwumike led the way again with 25 points. So all things were going good for the Sparks, and that game was on Thursday. Then on Sunday, the Sparks unfortunately saw that 2-game win streak come to a screeching halt, as they wound up losing to the New York Liberty 87-79, as Breonna Stewart was just on a tear. And Derek Hammy had 21 points as she led the way for the Sparks. Nneka Ogwumike was held in check as she only had 10 points. That's when you know the Sparks were not on their A game. And Hammy actually had those 21 points off the bench. Jordan Canada had 17 points. And also Azura Stevens chipped in 13 points. It was, the fact that they only lost by 8 is a miracle in itself. And then this past Tuesday, the Sparks lost to the Liberty again, as they wound up losing to them 76-69, as Nneka Ogwumike led the way with 20 points. Certainly an improvement over the 10 points that she had, as Courtney Vandersloot had 23 points, but sadly it was just not enough, as Jordan Canada chipped in 13 points, and then Lashia Clarendon added 11 points. So all in all for the Sparks, it was just not good. as they're now back on a 2-game losing streak. Like I said, they've just been a walking funeral home. The good news is for the Sparks, there's actually good news for the Sparks. Nneka Ogwumike actually made history within those games, as she's now the second all-time leading scorer in Sparks history, as she surpassed Candace Parker in terms of points scored in Sparks history, as she only needs to surpass Lisa Leslie, and then she'll be the all-time Sparks leading scorer, which I think is awesome. So I don't know how many points that Nneka Ogwumike needs in order to surpass Lisa Leslie, but I'm hoping she is able to do so, and if she does, awesome. It'll be the greatest bright spot for the Sparks. I can assure you that, just because, let me just say, this Sparks season has been anything but glamorous. Anyway, so the Sparks' next game is tonight as they head down to the nation's capital to take on the Washington Mystics to play at 4 p.m. It's going to be on ION. I don't know what that is, but whatever it is. And then on Sunday, the Sparks and the Mystics play again in Washington, D.C. at noon Pacific time, as that game will actually be televised on ESPN3. Then on Tuesday, the Sparks will head on down to the land of the Indy 500 as they take on the Indiana Fever on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And then after that, they'll get a nice few days off as the Sparks will head back down to the City of Angels, Los Angeles, to take on the Atlanta Dream on Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. Which, for the Sparks, looking at them in terms of the league, it's a miracle that they're only 1.5 games out of a playoff spot. But it feels like they're like 5.5 games out of a playoff spot. It's just been so bad. So, getting a few wins over the Mystics and hopefully over the Fever would be so good. But if they can't, then they're going to get further and further behind the Chicago Sky and the Mystics and all those other teams. I shouldn't even be thinking about playoffs when it comes to the Sparks, but if they can make the playoffs, bully for them, and that'll be even a bigger feather in their cap in terms of playoffs in this season. But all in all, I'm not even going to hold my breath on playoffs for the Sparks. But we'll see. Alright, that is basically going to do it for the Sparks. Like I said, there was some positives when it came to the Sparks outside of the beating the Fever. Nneka Ogwumike made some history, but that's kind of where the buck stopped. Alright, but that is that for the WNBA. Let's jump to a little NBA. So, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I was not here last week just because I had to basically cover the NBA. If you follow Set Point on Twitter, at set_point.ie on Twitter, and X, and then if you follow Set Point on Instagram, at set_point.iesr, then you will find that I covered the NBA playoffs last weekend. And I basically did pregame interviews and then postgame interviews. And then I filmed the highlights of most of the matches. I didn't really get to do a whole lot of the matches. I just got to have a few of the highlights, as I also did like recaps of the matches and of the rounds. But I basically got to cover the whole playoffs, basically mainly on Twitter. I live tweeted most of the matches. So, there were 3 Southern California teams in the playoffs. The Inland Empire Matadors, the San Diego Wild, and the Orange County Stunners. So, for the Stunners, they've been to the finals the past 3 seasons. The San Diego Wild were the new team when it came to the NBA, or one of 3 new teams that made the playoffs, while the Matadors were actually the only team to miss the playoffs last season and then make the playoffs this season, which I think is pretty cool. For the Wild, they actually had the honor of being the first team to play their first matchup against the Utah Stingers, and they wound up beating the Stingers in 4 sets. I'm just going to quickly go over these matchups just because I went over these matchups on Set Point on Monday. If you haven't listened to that show, definitely do so. They wound up advancing to the semifinals. The Matadors wound up getting swept by the then reigning NVA champions, the Las Vegas Ramblers, which advanced to the semifinals to take on the Wild. And then the Stunners, I kind of forgot about that matchup. The Stunners wound up beating the New Jersey Freedom in 4 sets, where they advanced to the semifinals in the National Conference. So in the American Conference Championship, the San Diego Wild surprised everybody, and they wound up sweeping the Las Vegas Ramblers in straight sets. It was very impressive, and I even predicted on my show, like a couple episodes ago, that if Matt Carnegie did play in that match, then the Wild would win. Whereas if Carnegie did not play, then the Ramblers would win. Regardless, the Wild wound up winning in straight sets. And then in the previous conference championship, the National Conference Championship between the Texas Tyrants and the Orange County Stunners, the Stunners wound up sweeping the Tyrants, which I kind of was surprised by, but honestly, the Stunners serve very tough, and when they serve tough, they are very tough to slow down, and honestly, they just were not slowing down for anybody, and their offense was just so on fire, and they were just digging everything, and they weren't slowing down for anybody. And they just had a mixture of veteran talent and a lot of youthful, on-the-rise, hustle and bustle guys. So the final of the NVA playoffs, or NVA Cup, which is the correct vernacular, I still prefer to call NVA playoffs. So anyway, the final of the NVA Cup was the Orange County Stunners, which was the designated home team, and the San Diego Wild, the champions of the National Conference Championship and the American Conference Championship. Regardless of who won, we would get an NVA champion in Southern California. As I mentioned on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show Twitter account, volleyball is basically Southern California territory. I don't care who says what, volleyball is SoCal territory. USC Beach Volleyball wound up winning the NCAA championship. UCLA Men's Volleyball wound up winning the NCAA Men's Volleyball Championship. I know Texas wound up winning the NCAA Women's Volleyball Championship from last season. But I don't care. This calendar year, we have had Southern California win championships in volleyball. Don't you argue with me. Southern California is volleyball territory. Unless you could say otherwise, I don't want to hear it. Let's move on. Anyway, so San Diego Wild versus Orange County Stunners. Long story short, Stunners won a tight contested first set, and then they wound up basically taking the next 2 sets with a little bit more ease, and they wound up winning on a walk-off block at the net. And that's probably the best way and the most fitting way to win a championship, because the play-by-play guy has this saying. If you watch the NVA via live stream, he has a saying called "reach out and stuff someone," as it basically is a reference to a song called "Reach Out and Touch Someone." I forgot who has that song, who did that song, but the "reach out and stuff someone" is basically the fan favorite saying. And the Orange County Stunners wound up sweeping the San Diego Wild, and they won their first championship since 2021, and they actually became the first NVA team to win multiple NVA championships. So they now have 2 NVA championships, which I think is incredible. While the San Diego Wild, in their first season, made it all the way to the finals, but sadly fell short. I don't want to say it's a San Diego thing, just because it is their first season. I think the Wild will be back, and soon San Diego will have an NVA championship. I'm fairly certain the San Diego curse will be lifted, and it'll probably be due to the San Diego Wild. So don't worry, San Diego. It's probably because you'll have your moment in the sun in terms of the NBA. But that's basically the Diet Coke version of the NBA playoffs. I have the full-on version on set point if you want to hear it. As basically the MVP of the NBA Cup was Corey Chavers. In terms of the stunners, in terms of all tournament, it was Spencer Olivier, Nick West, like I said, Corey Chavers, and that was it. In terms of the SoCal guys, in terms of the guys from the Orange County Stunners, no one from the San Diego Wild made it, and no one from the Inland Empire Matadors made it. So that's pretty much that. And yeah, this all took place at Long Beach City College. And that's that for the NBA season. There might be some NBA content coming out, or there might be some other NBA events or off-season events happening. But honestly, I don't think... I think that'll do it for the NBA season for the time being. I might do a NBA recap, but that might take a little while. I'll have to think of what happened. I have to angle that around. What would I have to write about that? Anyway, so that's that for the NBA. So let's get on into the MLB portion before I do Dum Dum of the Week, because that's what we all want, just because that's what Mikey Two Guns came here for the most part. All right, Angels. Okay. Remember when the Angels swept the New York Yankees and we were all cracking jokes at Yankee Well, the jokes have kind of come back to haunt the Angels. So, where we kind of left off, the Angels, they actually swept they took 2 of 3 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Not this past Friday, but the Saturday, the 22nd, they lost to the Pirates 3-0. Sunday, the 23rd, they beat the Pirates 7-5 in the rubber match. Then they played 3 games against the Tigers in Detroit. They won the first game on the 25th, 7-3 in 10 innings. Then they actually had a doubleheader against the Tigers, just because, unfortunately, their game on the 26th got rained out. Lucky people. I wish we could have rain because of in summer, but I digress. So, in the first game in the doubleheader, the Angels wound up winning 6-0, which I think is great. In addition, Shohei Ohtani pitched a one-hitter, but it doesn't get better, but it gets better. Shohei Ohtani actually hit 2 home runs as the Angels wound up winning 11-4. So, it's looking really good for the Angels, right? Right? No. While Angels beating the Tigers or sweeping the Tigers is great, well, it's just the Tigers. The Tigers are pretty bad, if you ask me. And the Pirates aren't really that great either. Now they actually had to play some really good teams. They had to play a 3-game series in Toronto against the Blue Jays. So, against the Blue Jays last Friday, they actually lost 4-1, which, well, there you go. You're actually playing a good team. And then last Saturday, they lost to the Blue Jays 6-1. And then, fortunately for the Angels, they salvaged a split against the Jays, winning 3-2. Then they had a 3-game series in Atlanta where they actually took the first game 4-1. And it was looking promising, right? Wrong. They lost game 2 by the identical score of 5-1. And then they lost the rubber match 12-5, which, yeah, everything went very awry for the Angels. And then yesterday was a crucial series, a 4-game series against the Seattle Mariners, where the Angels, it looked like they were going to win. They just could not put a whole lot of runs on the board, but their bats started to wake up a little bit later as 6th inning, they got 2 runs, they were up 2-1. And then Shohei Ohtani hit his 40th home run. He actually became the first player in the league to reach 40 home runs. And suddenly the Angels are up 3-1, and all they need is 3 outs. They get one out. All they need is just 2 more outs. Then the Angels, unfortunately, they get the bases loaded. And sadly, Carlos Estevez gets the bases loaded, and then he gives up a grand slam. And sadly, the Angels lose 5-3. I hate to pile this on Carlos Estevez, but honestly, it's not really all on him. But the Angels just couldn't get a whole lot of run support. And their closer straight up pooped the bed. And, yeah. Talk about spoiling a bad night, as Shohei Ohtani also left with cramps, which just sucked. But man, dude, it's like, talk about losing a game that you definitely could have helped you, but that's a bad loss right there. I mean, giving up a grand slam, I mean, losing is one thing, but giving up a grand slam, dude, that's just another thing, dude. So, oh my god. So the Angels, I basically have to say this. The Angels, if they want to make up some ground in the wild card race, they have to win the next 3 against Seattle. Otherwise, they won't be able to break even. Splitting against the M's or the Mariners isn't bad. But honestly, I would really like to see the Angels getting 3 out of 4 against Seattle. If they don't, then they basically are just running in a hamster wheel and not gaining any traction in the AL wildcard. It's just not going to work like that way. And then it gets tougher for the Angels as they have the Giants in Anaheim on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. They get Thursday off before heading down to Houston on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then the following Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they head down to Dallas to take on the Rangers. And then after that, they've got Tampa Bay on the 18th, 19th, and 20th. And then they've got the Reds, which I know they've crashed down to earth, but they're still vying for a playoff spot. And then they've got the Phillies to close out the end of August. And, I mean, the Mets have been such a mess this year. I'm surprised the Mets don't change their name to the New York Mess, but I digress. But anyway, the Angels have really got their work cut out for them in terms of their schedule as of late this year, or this month. As the Mariners are one thing. Then they've got the Giants, then the Astros, Rangers, Rays, and then the Reds. So it's no rest for the wicked. So the Angels could beat up on the really bad teams, but now they got to beat up on the good teams. You want to make the playoffs, you actually have to beat good teams. Otherwise, you don't deserve to make the playoffs, and you deserve to waste another year of Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. And the Angels really need to basically get Shohei Ohtani or Mike Trout back in the worst way. There's no better way of saying that. I will say this for the Angels, they did boost themselves in terms of the trade deadline, which I think is good. And honestly, I forgot who they got in terms of the trade deadline, but regardless, they did something in the trade deadline. They got someone from the Chicago White Sox, and it actually is good, as honestly, I am very surprised the Angels did something at the trade deadline. Which they got Lucas Giolito, and they got Ronaldo Lopez in exchange for Edgar Quiro and Kai Bush, which I've never even heard of those two, which I'm very surprised. So that's very good for the Angels, in my opinion, as honestly for the Angels, it shows that they really want to actually do something for the Angels. Oh, also, the Angels kept Shohei Ohtani, so good job for the Angels. I'm glad they didn't deal Shohei Ohtani, and even if they did, then that would have been the headline of this whole thing. So at least the Angels are kind of doing something right. I mean, it's not anything bad, but we'll see what happens with the Angels. I mean, they didn't do themselves any favors losing late in the 9th inning. That's the most Angels way to lose a game, in my opinion. But we'll see what happens for the Angels going forward. Now, the Dodgers, jumping over to them, they didn't really do a whole lot. They and the Yankees were probably the ones that didn't do much in the trade deadline. Now, the Dodgers did acquire Lance Lynn, which I think is good, but they didn't do a whole lot. As for the Dodgers, they wound up, if I'm looking at this correctly, they actually took 2 of 3 against the Texas Rangers. They won the first game against Texas 11-5 on the 21st of July. And then they wound up winning the second game 16-3 before losing the next game to Texas 8-4. Then on the 24th, 25th, and 26th of July, they lost to the Blue Jays 6-3, beat the Blue Jays 8-7 in 10 innings, and then lost to the Blue Jays 8-1. Then last Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they took 2 out of 3 against Cincinnati. They lost they lost 2 of 3 to Cincinnati. They lost the first game 6-5 against Cincy. They won the second game 3-2 on last Saturday, and then last Sunday they lost 9-3, which was a big fat ouch right there. And then they had Monday off, and then this past Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they managed to actually get one of the more easier, I wouldn't say easier wins, but they managed to get a little bit more easier help along the way as they wound up sweeping the Oakland Athletics, or soon-to-be then Oakland Athletics, as they wound up taking Game 1 on Tuesday 7-3. They took Game 2 10-1, and they wound up taking Game 3 8-2, which that's no big deal. So believe it or not, the Dodgers actually have the very rare 4-game series against the Padres in Petco Park on Friday, starting today at 6:40 p.m., going all the way till Monday. They even have Sunday Night Baseball, which I think that's pretty cool. On Tuesday and Wednesday, the Dodgers have a kind of important series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, the Diamondbacks have kind of come crashing down to earth. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of next week, they return home to the Chavez Ravine to host the Colorado Rockies. So it's kind of an NL West welcoming tour, if you ask me, for this week. So the Dodgers lead the NL West by 2.5 games, which is kind of good, ahead of the Giants, as the Giants have ripped 3 out of 4 games against the Diamondbacks last week, which is crucial for them, just because the Giants are still in contention of being in the NL West race. But time will tell. Now, the Padres, on the other hand, they actually had themselves quite a good, I wouldn't say good remainder of July, but they actually have caught a little bit of fire, as they actually took 2 out of 3 against the Detroit Tigers all the way back from July 21st through to the 23rd. Game 1, they won 5-4. Then Game 2, they wound up winning 14-3. Then Game 3, they wound up losing 3-1, but it's no big deal. It's tough to kind of complete that sweep. Then against the Pittsburgh Pirates, a team that kind of haunted them, they actually lost 2 of 3. They wound up losing the first game 8-4. They won the next game 5-1. And then they lost the third game, the rubber match, 3-2, which didn't really sit well with me. But here's the big surprise. The Padres actually swept the Texas Rangers. Now, I did not believe this when I first saw this. I was like, wait, the Padres, who have been very bad, very underachieving, swept the Texas Rangers, who have been really, really, really good. Jaw drops. Anyway, So the Padres took Game 1 last Friday 7-1. They took Game 2 4-0. And then they took the third one 5-3 last Sunday. So that's a very good win. Good series win for that matter, as we haven't seen the Padres really have too many of those. Then on Monday all the way through Wednesday, the Padres took 2 of 3 against the Rockies, as the Rockies managed to escape with a 4-3 win in 10 innings over the Padres. Then on Tuesday, the Padres took that one 8-5. Then the rubber match between the two, the Padres took that one 11-1. So I already mentioned the Padres are hosting the Dodgers Friday all the way through Monday. Then on Tuesday and Wednesday, the Padres hit the road to rainy Seattle to take on the Mariners. Then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Padres hit the road to the Cactus State to take on the Diamondbacks, which is a crucial series. The funny thing is about the Padres is that they're actually one game back of being 500. I never thought we would be saying that, or I would be saying that, just because, for starters, the Padres have been anything but impressive this year. But I will say this, I'm very impressed that the Padres are surging at the right time. Do I think they could be a wild card team? I don't know, as they're 4 back of the final wild card spot, so maybe they could shake up the wild card race. I mean, the Angels are 4 back of the wild card race, so maybe the Padres could be a why not them team. And their run differential, despite them being 4 games back of the wild card race, and despite them being under 500 by 1 game, is actually plus 75. I never thought I'd be saying those words. But I'm impressed by the Padres. Maybe we could be seeing every SoCal team in the MLB over 500. But time will tell. Alright, but that is basically going to do it for the MLB portion of this show. Before we head on out of here, we have to, hence the word have to, give out the Dum Dum of the Week. So, Dum Dum of the Week is an award I like to give out for those that do something dumb. And no one is safe from this award. Anyone can get this award, whether it is my neighbor, whether it's myself. No one is safe from this award. And this award can be given out to someone that does or says something dumb. As basically, I give this award out. It's kind of like Shacking a Fool, as basically, I show no mercy when it comes to this award. So I actually have to give this award out in 3 different parts. I want to say 3 or 4 different parts. And this, unfortunately, I missed last week, so I kind of have to make up for it. So the first award I have to give this out to is to someone on Twitter. So you know how whenever I see someone basically, here's something I gotta make an announcement to. If I see anybody saying something or harassing any of my IE Sports Radio family, y'all are going to be put on Dum Dum of the Week. I don't give a crap who you are. If you say or give any of my IE Sports Radio family a tough time, you are going to be put on Dum Dum of the Week. I don't care what your excuse is. You are going to be put on Dum Dum of the Week. So, Adam Karnick. First of all, I got to give a shout to Adam Karnick. The dude had to cover the whole Northwestern situation, and that has just been a terrible, terrible situation. And it eventually escalated to the women's volleyball team, and it eventually was discovered that hazing was eventually found in the women's volleyball team. I'm eventually going to save that for later. But, so eventually Adam quote tweeted something that eventually quote tweeted a teaser for his show saying that the women's volleyball team was involved in hazing in terms of Northwestern. So apparently some dude with a Iowa icon in terms of the University of Iowa icon, he quote tweets Adam's tweet and he says 1,000 suicides is hazing now. So I don't know the whole details, but apparently someone who broke the COVID protocols I guess had to run 1,000 suicides in front of the trainers. I guess had to run 1,000 suicides. And he quote tweeted Adam's tweet and said, he tweeted his, I guess, boy or one of his friends. And he said, 1,000 suicides is hazing now? And then Adam Karnick quote tweets the guy with the Iowa profile pic, and he says, as punishment for catching a serious respiratory infection, you seriously have to ask that question. Okay, so I will just lay this out on the line here. The dude was eventually joking. He said it was a joke. Oh, never mind. Forget it. First of all, dude, why did you even have to bother my boy Adam? I know you were just joking and all that sort of stuff, but dude, I don't care if you were joking or not. You wasted Adam's time eventually, and you eventually wasted your own time, dude. Like, stuff like that is not to be really joked around. But honestly, dude, you weren't funny. That's what I'm gonna say. You weren't funny, and you weren't cute. So I will say this, and also, I don't know what you were trying to accomplish when it came to quote tweeting and whatnot, but honestly, dude, you weren't funny with your joke. I mean, kudos to Adam for handling it in a professional matter, but I will say this, to the dude that basically wasted Adam's time, well, please find yourself a new hobby, or basically find new joking material. But honestly, to the guy that basically wasted Adam's time by quote tweeting the whole 1,000 suicides is considering hazing? Well, of course it's hazing. Like, I could barely do suicides. I could barely do suicides in general. So 1,000 suicides after catching a serious respiratory infection? That is serious business, dude. Like, no. That is clearly not up for debate. Like, don't even go into Adam's mentions like that. And I'm not even trying to back up Adam. I'm just saying it's just illogical, dude. So don't even try to, like, jump into Adam's mentions or whatnot. So I know he wasn't intentionally trying to bother Adam and whatnot. And kudos to Adam for handling the situation. But, dude, that's just don't do that. So, to the dude that was basically, I guess, semi-harassing Adam and whatnot, or just trying to make a joke or trying to be funny, you're the semi-dum-dum of the week, but I will just say this, you're not funny. So, you're the dum-dum of the week. You're just not funny. Just take your dum-dum of the week and just go away.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And that's only Dum Dum of the Week number 1. It gets worse. So, Dum Dum of the Week number 2. I don't know if you all have noticed this, but on social media, you know how there's no more Twitter? It's gonzo. There's no more Twitter. It's now known as X. It's X, and that's courtesy of Elon Musk. Yes, apparently Elon Musk decided to get rid of Twitter and name it X. I don't know why, but the bird is gone. The bird is no longer the word. And I don't know why Elon Musk decided to get rid of Twitter, but it really disappointed me, and I am now officially the victim of X. So, sadly, X is basically the new Twitter, so yeah, thanks a lot, Elon Musk. And I don't really approve of the whole Twitter, the new X thing. It just now means I'm now going to have to basically change my new description in set point from X of Twitter, or X of set point, or Twitter of set point to X of set point. So thanks a lot, Elon, for adding more work to me. And thanks a lot for killing off the bird of social media, or formerly known as Twitter. So, to Elon Musk for changing Twitter, it just doesn't have a good ring to it. It's like, X? Like, what does the X mean? Like, please explain. Like, Twitter just has so much better. And retweet just has so much more it just sounds so much better if you ask me. It's just now repost. It's now posting and repost and quote tweet and quote tweet, retweet, and favorite. And I guess they left the whole favorite and whatnot. But Elon, I'm just gonna say this: you've taken away Twitter and made it for the worse. And your changes to whole X or Twitter is just for the worst. And I'm disappointed in you, to say the least. So, regardless, you are this week's Dum Dum of the Week, numero dos.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
So that is Dum Dum of the Week number 2. Now, Dum Dum of the Week number 3. So, does anyone here remember what Larry said early in the show? He said, and I quote, "I'm so mad at these stupid teams leaving the Pac-12." All right, so I don't know if y'all are living under a rock, but what does Larry mean by that? Remember when USC and UCLA left the Pac-12? Well, it's not just those teams that have left the Pac-12. There are other teams that have left the Pac-12. Well, Colorado went back to the Big 12, that's for sure. But now, it was just announced today that Oregon and Washington have left for the Big Ten. Yup, you heard that correctly. Oregon and Washington are now in the Big Ten, and they're leaving the Pac-12. So, basically, what USC and UCLA have done is they've basically robbed us of the Apple Cup, and they've robbed us of the Civil War, or whatever they've called that new rivalry. And I guess they've robbed us of the Rumble in the Rockies, even though I think it was most natural that Colorado goes back to the Big 12. Either way, because of USC and UCLA wanting to go to the Big Ten, they've basically killed off the Pac-12. It's even gotten to the point where I don't know who made this parody of The Office, but it was you gotta look up this whole Pac-12 Office reference. It was when Ron said, I don't watch The Office, FYI, but it's basically when Ron accuses the whole office of breaking the coffee machine, when in reality he broke the coffee machine because he punched it after he burned his hand. I don't know, if you don't watch The Office and I spoiled that, I'm sorry. But to USC and UCLA, you've killed off the Pac-12. You've basically have forced the Big Ten to become even bigger. I tweeted this out in my Set Point Twitter account. I even said that the Big Ten should be known as the Bigger Ten, and now it's basically a whole paradigm shift. It's just so crazy when you look at it. And now, I don't even know if the Pac-12 is going to be a Power 5 conference. Should we just now have San Diego... The only good thing is that we now should have San Diego State in the Pac-12. Heck, maybe even move Hawaii to the Pac-12 at this point. But regardless, USC and UCLA have killed the Pac-12. And they should be ashamed of themselves. And they have grown the Big Ten way too much. It's going to get to the point where they may have to start kicking out some of the other Big Ten teams that aren't performing to the level. So I hope you're happy, UCLA and USC, because now you've killed the Pac-12 and you've grown the Big Ten way too much. So to USC and UCLA, I hate to do this, but for my boy Larry B, you two are this week's Dum Dum of the Week because you've practically killed off the Pac-12 and you've grown the Big Ten probably too big for its own britches.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And I want to say that is pretty much that. I want to say that might be that, unless I can think of another one. Oh, I got one more. This is probably the coup de grace, the creme de la creme. Remember how I said Shohei Ohtani is an Angels fan, is still an Angel? this is not to be mean to this fan base, but I kind of gotta laugh at Mariners fans. Some Mariners fans, I'm not going to say all Mariners fans are like this, but some Mariners fans were hoping Shohei Ohtani was going to be a Seattle Mariner. Some even actually changed their profile pic to Shohei Ohtani photoshopped in a Mariners jersey. I'm just going to say this right now. You thought Shohei Ohtani was going to be a Mariner. You thought he was coming to the Mariners. Oh, you're going to have to wait till the offseason. But seriously, Mariners fans, to the Mariners fans who thought that Shohei Ohtani was going to be a Mariner, I hate to tell you this, but you were delusional to think that was going to happen. I know you all have the last laugh considering you all currently beat the Angels last night as of this recording, but I will just say this. Shohei Ohtani is still an Angel. Now, can that change in the offseason? Sure. But for the time being, I still have the last laugh as of this recording, and you all thought Shohei Ohtani was going to be an Angel by the trade deadline. But it ain't happening. Shohei Ohtani is still an Angel, and all I gotta do is laugh at y'all. And soon, and maybe soon, and I'm going to call it right here, the Mariners ain't making the playoffs. Now, if the Mariners do make the playoffs, and let's say the Mariners somehow do make the playoffs, and I am wrong, then I'll be dumb of the week, and I'll eat my crow. But for the time being, you Mariners fans who actually changed your profile pic to Shohei Ohtani in a Mariners jersey, and who had the pipeline dream of seeing Shohei Ohtani go to the Mariners, all I gotta do is laugh at y'all and give y'all dumb of the week.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And this isn't directed toward all Mariners fans. I respect Mariners fans just because, honestly, Mariners fans have had it tough. I can't really ultimately relate just because I'm an Angels and Dodgers fan. But honestly, I don't hate Mariners fans. This isn't trying to take a shot at Mariners fans. I'll just say, but for those that did change their profile pics to Shohei Ohtani in a Mariners jersey, to those that basically were saying Shohei Ohtani to the Mariners, to those that were basically just oozing at the fact that Shohei Ohtani wanted to be a Mariner after that All-Star game. No, you're gonna have to pray for the All-Star until after the season, or you're just gonna have to hope that something weird happens. But for the time being, Shohei Ohtani is an Angel, and you're just gonna have to hope and pray that something weird happens. But for the time being, no Shohei for you. No Shohei for you. All right. But again, that's not to be disrespectful to Mariners fans. I'm not trying to call out the entire Mariners fan base and have them go directly into my DMs and have them put clown emojis and into my mentions and whatnot. So there's that right there. All right, but that is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for me to get on out of here because I got to get me some grub and I got to clear out because in about 95 minutes, we have another show going on. You dig? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. Shout out to the chat room, Larry B. and Mikey Two Guns. I really do appreciate you all tuning in. I will be back next week. Good, because I don't have work and I don't have an event of my choosing until next week. So I should be back next week for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And I should be back at my original time. I should not be late. The only reason why I was late is because I had other things to take care of. I apologize if I was late. I won't be late ever again. I promise you. Set point, I can assure you that I either will be moving that to either maybe Tuesday, if not maybe late Wednesday, or not late Wednesday, late Monday, but time will tell on that. I might even have a guest, but we'll see. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself a great rest of the weekend. Still apply your sunscreen because it is still hot. It's going to be a scorcher still this weekend. We probably are might through the worst of it, but still apply your sunscreen. Still keep yourself hydrated. It's still a scorcher. Like I said, Monday, and I will be back, or sometime this week, I will be back for Set Point. But until then, have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy all the SoCal sports action, and I will see you next week for Set Point sometime next week. Good night, everybody, and remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!